the next job on this Ferrari 330 GTC that's going to Cavallino is to do something about the exhaust. The exhaust tips on this car are not correct. They have the right sticker, this C Soretto sticker, but the details are not right. The exhaust on a 330 GTC is supposed to be made by, obviously, Soretto, which is what the sticker is, but a lot of people end up putting ANSYS systems on it, which is technically incorrect for a 330 GTC. I've seen, I think it's called Galetto, and also Soretto. This particular exhaust is not even any of them. It's not even an ANSYS, or at least not an ANSYS from the period that people have been putting on. And the real way that you can tell is look how short this exhaust tip is. The original exhaust tips are certainly a little bit longer, but what I'm doing is I'm going to install the correct exhaust tips, which I have here. So these are fabricated off of templates that are match the original ones. They have a chrome sleeve, which I haven't put on there yet, but it's copied from an original exhaust system. And so just putting them up to the original ones, you could see how much thinner the exhaust tip is. And it's supposed to weld to the pipe and fit there. So it's just a lot longer, has this neck down piece over here, but it doesn't have this thick, wide tip that whatever was installed over here. So what I'm doing is I marked the pipes here, and I'm gonna cut those off because you could see that from previous that it's got a couple little steps in here. So someone's already welded these on here to attach. And what I'm gonna do is just get a close approximation, cut them off, and start working on welding the correct tips back in onto this car. Well, I've been doing a lot of cutting, welding, tacking, sighting, and all that other stuff just to get these exhaust tips in. You know, there's a lot to it. Sometimes it's not just you know, just cut them off and weld them in place, because there's a lot more to it. I mean, these pipes were not the same distance to the other ones, so I kind of had to break some welds here and ratchet strap the pipes together so they would line up, so I can tack them in place. I had to figure out a way to hold them and line them up so that way I could make sure that they were straight. You know, putting these tips in, it takes, I had to do a lot of like just eyeballing, because I wanted to make sure that the angles coming out of the back of the car, which they kind of turn up a little bit, so there's a little bit of a turn up. It kind of follows the exhaust exits of the pipes under the car. But then you also want to make sure that they're about the same length out of the back of the car. It made it a little bit harder with this car because I have the bumpers out for re-chroming, so I had to use body lines and all that other stuff to make sure, and to see on how far they exit out of the back of the bumper. The good thing is I had another GTC here that I could look at and see how that exhaust, what looked comfortable, and then kind of transpose some of the measurements onto this car and see how it looks. I've had cars where the exhaust tips stuck too far out of the back of the car, and you know, that's not good. It'll catch your shin as you walk by the car, so you certainly don't want that. I also try to get the angles right so that the exit of the pipes are parallel that way. I also wanted to make sure that they're parallel to the car. And sometimes that, because of the way I had it up in the air so I can weld it, I had to get up on a ladder and just kind of climb up here and sight the exhaust down the length of the car, just to make sure that they were exiting parallel to the car. And then also to make sure that they were not pointing out or at each other or away from each other. Also wanted to make sure that the pipes were the two pipes were kind of parallel to each other, or rather, you know, parallel to the ground, which sometimes the eye can kind of fool you, because even though I could put a level on these and they'll be level, sometimes the car itself kind of makes it look like it's off. And I could get a couple little adjustments here and there, but I just wanted to get it close as I could be with the hangers in place. You know, as an example, I'll show you, like, this hood is kind of opened a little bit because I have but you could see how when it's open, it's kind of not straight. And that kind of goes with the fact that these cars are all handmade. So that hood, when it's closed, you don't notice it. But like when you look at it, you know, in other ways, it can look crooked. But when it's all together and buttoned up, it looks right. So sometimes you just kind of have to eyeball things. You can't measure stuff on this car and get it perfectly, you know, straight or to the, you have to kind of use your eye. You have to sight things, because on handmade cars, especially when these cars don't really have a lot of straight lines, you kind of have to just go with your gut feeling and use the sight lines of the car and figure out what's straight. So on this car, I also have to finish up the exhaust after I tacked it in place. I'm going to take the exhaust off and have it TIG welded, but I also need to add another bracket, since the other exhaust tips took brackets off and omitted them. So I want to add them, because you can't have these brackets here just kind of hanging in mid-air. So I'm going to add those and put another set of hangers in there. Let me show you the chrome tips that's going to go on these exhaust tips once I get everything welded and painted up. The finishing touch on this car, for the correct finish on this, or the correct way these tips go on, is that there's a chrome tip that slides on. It is an extra piece. You'll notice that it's just, this is regular steel, it'd be painted black, and then the way the Soreto correct Concours tips are, the way they did them was they had these chrome sleeves. There'll be 4 of them on the back here, and they're chrome plated. The way you tell on the ANSYS is that the ANSYS, what they did was they just had a full chrome tip, and then what they did was they just taped it with, you'll see the common red tape, and then they'll just paint the backside of it black. So it wasn't like a separate chrome sleeve. That's like the dead giveaway on these cars when the exhaust isn't correct. So I'm putting this in. Once I have this all painted, I'll install these chrome sleeves, and we'll get the exhaust up to Concours level. I removed the exhaust from the car after I got it all lined up, because I'm going to take it out for welding. Got it loaded up on the truck. You know, I tack welded everything in place, so I have this little hanger in place. I got this welded. I have everything tack welded, but I'm going to take it to a welder that can do this in TIG. I don't have a TIG welder. I could have done it in MIG. I mean, this looks like it was MIG by the exhaust guy, but I don't. You know, I'd like it to be nice, and even though I could probably try to do it with a grinder and everything, but you know, if I'm going to send it out, I might as well just have it TIG welded. So I'm going to take this exhaust over, now that everything's all lined up and perfectly tacked in place so it's not going to move. My local welder can put this TIG in. It's going to be a lot nicer. He'll put some of this back in, and you know, we'll be back in business. It was easier to just take the whole exhaust system out, because what happened was when I was trying to split that, it just wouldn't move, and trying to bang on all this stuff and trying to stretch it and get tools to pull that apart. It was just easier to drop the exhaust, because it just comes out from the headers, you know, the flange bolts from the headers, and just take the whole exhaust. It's a short ride, so this stuff sticking out of the back of my truck shouldn't be too bad. I should be there in 5 minutes and deliver the exhaust and get it welded. So this job is just about done. I'll take some pictures of it when it's all done, but you know, still have a couple little, you know, issues with paint. I got to, you know, paint it, put it assembled, but another step that gets closer to getting it all right. Thanks for watching.